The murders shocked the Victorian world with their brutality, and the world's most famous serial killer came into being.
Anatoly Onoprienko, aka the Beast of Ukraine.
The terrified locals have come to call him the Terminator.
Though most widely known as the Beast of Ukraine, Onoprienko was also called the Terminator and Citizen O. After his arrest in 1966, he admitted to killing 52, dating back to 1989.
This man's from the devil. He was motivated by evil, and that's what drove him.
He targeted families as well as any potential witnesses. Police found a slew of evidence in his home, including weapons and items he stole from his victims. He's gone on record saying he felt no remorse for his crimes.
I feel like a cross between a human and a robot. Most of my work was supposed to be done by robots. I consider myself an experimenter, with myself and with other people.
While in prison, Onoprienko issued a press release saying that his goal was to achieve a world record for killing.
Life has treated me harshly, so I don't think about being punished. I'm a working man. I'm an executioner. And remember, punishment is up to the gods or the devil, and I don't think about it.
In 2013, he died of a heart attack at the age of 54. Number 9. Karl Denka, aka the Forgotten Cannibal, the Cannibal of Zambitsa, Prussia. Church organist Karl Denka appeared to be a kind, well-liked, upstanding member of the community. What people didn't know was that he killed at least 42 homeless and/or traveling people over the course of 21 years. As the nickname suggests, he consumed his victims, but he didn't keep the remains all to himself. He owned a food shop selling meats, the ingredients of which we don't want to think about. Denka was finally caught in 1924. However, he took his own life before he could be questioned or convicted. Upon searching his residence, police found many various body parts. Number 8. Henri Désiré Landru, aka the Bluebeard of Gambia, France. This unassuming Parisian swindler seduced and killed women during World War I. Also referred to as France's lonely heart serial killer, he took advantage of wealthy wives left widowed by their husbands dying in the war and placed dating ads in newspapers. Despite being a husband and a father, Landru was romantically involved with almost 300 women. Though no bodies were ever found, he was found guilty of 11 murders. It's believed that he murdered over 70 more women. In February 1922, he was executed by guillotine. Number 7. Mikhail Popkov, aka the Werewolf, Russia. Ex-policeman Mikhail Popkov used his occupation to lure his victims, offering them late-night car rides. He admitted to targeting women he saw as immoral, killing them for going out partying. One of the survivors, who was 17 at the time, said she was violently attacked and left for dead. Since his arrest in 2012, Popkov has confessed to killing over 80, all women except for one policeman. However, these are just the murders he can remember. He's widely regarded as Russia's worst serial killer and reportedly brags to his cellmate that he'd killed more people than Andrei Chikatilo. Number 6. Mariam Solokiotis, aka the Woman Rasputin, the Killer Nun, Greece. Mother Superior Mariam Solokiotis was a nun who embezzled the dowries of wealthy women joining the covenant. The abbess allegedly killed 177 men and women at the Karatia convent. She led the Old Kalendaris sect, which is separate from the Greek Orthodox Church for its practices. Solokiotis strictly imposed abstinence and fasting among the members of the convent, leading to many deaths, both youths and adults alike. Police arrested the nun for her shocking crimes in 1951. She received life in prison in 1952, dying 2 years later. Number 5. Alexander Pichushkin, aka the Chessboard Killer, Russia. Pichushkin's crimes went uninvestigated until the body of a retired police officer was discovered in 2005. He also killed a co-worker who left a note for her parents naming him as the person she'd be with. A metro ticket was found on her body, and police saw Pichushkin on the station's surveillance footage.
These are the last images of Marina Moskalyova alive. She doesn't know it, but she's walking with a man who has a hammer in his bag and who fully intends to kill her. That man is Alexander Pichushkin.
Eager for recognition, he made a full confession to the media. After his arrest in June 2006, police found a chessboard with 62 spots filled, leaving 2 spots open. He was also called the Bitsa Park Maniac due to his frequent victims left in Moscow's Bitsevesky, aka Bitsa, Park. Number 4. Niels Hugel, Germany. As a nurse, Hugel deliberately put his patients into cardiac arrest in order to save them in front of his colleagues, but many did not survive.
Colleagues called him the resuscitation Rambo because he would manhandle them out of the way so he could get to the sick. But a high death rate among his patients made colleagues suspicious.
Over his 15 years of employment at 2 hospitals in northern Germany, it's suspected that Hugel killed as many as 300 patients, a third of which he confessed to.
In 2005, Hugel was finally caught red-handed as he was about to administer an injection to a patient. It was the end of a killing spree, unprecedented in Germany. A nurse who doesn't help sick people, but secretly murders them.
In 2018, he was found guilty of 85 of them, while he was already serving a life sentence for 2 he caused by lethal injection. He's regarded as Germany's worst serial killer in modern history. Number 3. Elizabeth Batri, aka the Blood Countess, Hungary. The legendary Countess Elizabeth Batri de Eched is labeled by the Guinness World Record as the most prolific female serial killer in history. The story goes that she killed virgin females, believing that bathing in their blood made her appear young.
Her sadistic reputation was beginning to strike fear into the hearts of all who heard her name.
You must imagine these people cowering outside the walls of her castles, never knowing what exactly is going on in there, but knowing at the same time that they are absolutely subject to this person's power, to this person's whim.
She's been called a vampire and a cannibal. Though the lore that surrounds her is mostly speculated, we do know that she was essentially put on house arrest until she died. She and several of her servants were found guilty of imprisoning and murdering over 600 females. In this case, the truth is much more horrific than fiction. Number 2. Peter Sutcliffe, aka the Yorkshire Ripper, England. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Sutcliffe murdered 13 women and attempted to murder 7.
It was an investigation with twists and turns and a case that still haunts the British public to this day.
For years, women and girls felt that simply leaving their homes at night meant taking their lives in their hands.
Since most of victims were sex workers, few were concerned about their deaths, and officials didn't bother investigating. However, the public was outraged when a teen's body was found at a playground in 1977. Due to her age, she was deemed the first innocent since she didn't lead the same lifestyle as the previous victims.
All women then felt at risk, and very positively it had been established that the same man was responsible for all these killings, and it had developed by this point into a reign of terror, really.
Sutcliffe was dubbed the Yorkshire Ripper because of the similarities between the injuries on his victims and that of Jack the Ripper. Despite being interviewed by police several times, Sutcliffe wasn't caught until 1981.
You can imagine how I felt. I was absolutely stunned. I was totally gutted, because I remembered interviewing the man, I remembered my suspicions, my colleagues' suspicions, and what we'd written about him. And I thought, what might have been?
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few dishonorable mentions. Harold Shipman, aka Dr. Death, England. Britain's most prolific mass murderer.
I think that a significant number of the people that Dr. Shipman killed, he may have killed quite simply because he did not wish to continue caring for them for whatever reason.
Michel Fournier, aka Ogre of the Ardennes, France and Belgium, hunted women with his wife.
Fournier's crimes are amongst the worst France has ever suffered.
He's killed at least 8 young girls and women, but it's likely to be more.
Andrei Chikatilo, aka the Butcher of Rostov, Russia, killed over 50 women and minors.
Whether you believe that he was the victim of the circumstances under which he was born, or whether you believe he was an evil person who used free will to do what he did and wanted to kill, that evil that grew in him is not something that's alien to all of us.
Monster of Florence, Italy. Italy's unidentified son of Sam.
The people of Florence are losing patience. They are angry, scared, and frustrated with an investigation that has failed to trap the killer.
Jack the Ripper, England. Arguably the most infamous serial killer of all time, Jack the Ripper was the elusive perpetrator behind the Whitechapel murders in the late 1800s. The number of victims is still unknown, though 5 were identified, known as the Canonical 5.
The murders shocked the Victorian world with their brutality, and the world's most famous serial killer came into being.
The unidentified serial killer was believed to have a medical background, given the surgical precision used to remove his victims' organs from their bodies.
I am once again reminded that a cunning psychopath armed with surgical knowledge and a razor-sharp scalpel can tear a human life apart in a very short time indeed.
Some body parts were taken, and others were left at the crime scenes, but a number of these remains were sent to police along with taunting letters.
As a consequence, the murders are now turned almost into a street pantomime, and 5 sordid East End murders became an international phenomenon, and the unknown miscreant responsible for those murders was elevated to the realm of legend.
Theories about his identity continue to circulate to this day.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.